Good afternoon, I'm Ryan Couch, and I work in the Technical Services Department here at MP Pumps. And today we're going to disassemble and reassemble an HTO 80 hot oil pump from MP. What we're going to do is we're going to disassemble this HTO 80 pump. As you can see, removing the pipe plugs and removing the fan guard. So now the next step that we'll have is we'll begin by removing the housing, the fan clamp. We're going to turn it up on the suction port. We're going to remove the mechanical seal housing first. 3 socket head cap screws that are removed, thereby loosening the mechanical seal housing. Alright, now that we've removed the mechanical seal housing, we can see the stationary face of the mechanical seal. And we'll also, if we turn that around, we'll see the lip seal on the back side of the mechanical seal housing. There should also be one of the gaskets that Dave has in his hand right there that seal the seal housing and the adapter. Now we'll go ahead and remove the rotating element of the mechanical seal from the drive sleeve. We have the spring keeper, and the rubber bellows and actual seal face assembly. Now we'll remove the 2 carbon graphite isolator bushings, the gasket that goes in between the bushings, and the Viton O-ring. There will be one more gasket that is on the adapter plate that he's removing now. Now we'll go ahead and we'll loosen the housing nuts from the studs that hold the adapter and the housing together. The adapter is lifted off. Now we're going to remove the drive sleeve and impeller assembly, and the impeller is held onto the drive sleeve by a hex gem nut. We're going to remove the nut. Once the nut is removed, the impeller threads off of the drive sleeve. These are standard right-handed threads. Now the pump is completely disassembled, and we will begin inspection of the pump. One last step in disassembling the HTO 80 pump will be to remove the stationary seal face from the seal housing. And simply inserting a pressing tool on the back side of the seal face, it can be gently pressed and removed from the seal housing. Now the last thing we'll do is remove the lip seal from the back side of the seal housing. That'll be done by turning the seal housing over, inserting a pushing tool, and gently tapping on the pushing tool to remove the the lip seal. The HTO hot oil pumps have repair kits available for them. With the repair kit, you would receive a case gasket or housing gasket, 3 isolator bushing gaskets, an isolator bushing O-ring, 2 isolator bushings, a mechanical seal, a lip seal, and a drive sleeve. Now we'll begin with the reassembly procedure for an HTO 80 pump. Again, this is an HTO 80. At this point, certain models will vary on the reassembly procedure depending on which model you have. At that point, you should consult the MP representative for specific instructions if you have questions. Today we're looking at the HTO 80, and we're going to show how to install the lip seal in the backside of the seal housing. You'll need a press or some kind of pressing tool. The lip seal will be pressed into the backside of the board by applying pressure to the seal, pressing it into the mechanical seal housing. The next step will be to install the stationary mechanical seal face into the seal housing bore. We should inspect the seal housing board to make sure it's free of any debris or corrosion that would prevent the mechanical seal O-ring from sealing that surface. Once that inspection is done, we will apply some assembly lube to the O-ring of the stationary seal face and insert the stationary seal face into the bore of the mechanical seal housing using an assembly tool. Now any excess lube will be removed from the seal face and it will be ready for installation. The next thing we will inspect is the rotating mechanical seal face. We'll inspect the rotating mechanical seal to make sure that that seal face is also clean and free of any debris, nicks, or chips that would cause it or prevent it from sealing properly. Now we'll set aside the mechanical seal housing and the rotating assembly, and we'll come back to that in a moment. The next step will be to install the drive sleeve into the impeller by threading the drive sleeve into the back side of the impeller, and then using our hex jam nut, installing that onto the end of the drive sleeve. This should be torqued to approximately 28 foot-pounds. Now the impeller and drive sleeve assembly will be positioned in the housing. The next step will be installing the housing gasket over the studs, and then taking the adapter and installing the adapter over the studs onto the housing, and installing the 6 lock washers and hex nuts onto the studs. The studs and nuts will be tightened in a cross tightening method or a star pattern to approximately 28 foot-pounds. Okay. Once that is done, we'll now be installing the gaskets into the adapter bore. These gaskets will seal the isolator bushing in the adapter. Again, the bore should be inspected to make sure that there is no corrosion or debris that would be keeping the gaskets from sealing that surface, as well as the gasket should be inspected to make sure there are no nicks or tears in the gasket. The isolator bushing will be installed first with the Viton O-ring on the inside diameter and a gasket, and then the second isolator bushing will be installed. The 2 isolator bushings will then be inserted over the drive sleeve and against the gasket that is on the bore of the adapter. They are positioned carefully to make sure they're centered within that bore. Next, we'll take the rotating face of the mechanical seal, we'll inspect it. We'll take the spring assembly and install it over the drive sleeve. Then inspect the rotating face to make sure that the bellows is free of any material that would cause a problem with installation. We will also apply some assembly lube to the drive sleeve and the bellows assembly of the mechanical seal. And then the mechanical seal rotating face will be inserted over the drive sleeve with the face up. Next, the gasket will be inserted into the seal housing bore. This is going to seal the other side of the isolator bushings. And then the assembly lube will be placed around the Viton lip seal, and the seal housing will be gently positioned over the drive sleeve and onto the adapter. As you can see, he will now have to compress the mechanical seal spring during the course of installation. Next, the 3 socket head cap screws will be inserted into the holes the through holes of the seal housing, and it'll be getting to be threaded into the adapter. This is a very key portion of the installation or rebuild. These socket-head cap screws must be tightened in equal portions in 25-pound increments. First, the bolts will be hand tightened, and then they'll be brought to a snug tightness prior to using an inch-pound torque wrench, and they will be tightened in even increments of 25 inch-pounds until we reach the maximum torque of 150 inch-pounds. This is a very key portion of the rebuild. Again, if this is not done in the 25 inch-pound increments, the isolator bushings are susceptible to cracking, which would cause leaking once the pump is put into operation. As you can see, we're tightening the socket cap screws in 25-pound increments. We're now going through the 50-pound, inch-pound increment torque setting. As we approach the 150 inch-pound set point for torquing these socket-head cap screws, it's a very key point to say that this is one of the very most important portions of the rebuild. When we get phone calls of people installing the pumps or rebuilding the pumps, this is the portion of the rebuild that is most often done incorrectly, leading to isolator failure or mechanical seal failure. As we approach the 150 inch-pound set point, you may even want to take care to use 10 inch-pound increments just to make sure that the isolator bushings are tightened evenly. Again, 25 inch-pound increments up to 150 inch-pounds, using a great amount of care to make sure that the bolts are tightened in an even pattern. The next thing we'll install is the integral fan clamp, drive sleeve clamp. That'll be installed, and this would conclude the rebuild by installing the fan clamp guard. This concludes the disassembly and reassembly video of the HTO 80 pump. When we get to the point that we've taken you to in this video, it's key to point out that there is a separate video on our website for setting the impeller clearance once the pump pack is installed onto the electric motor. So please go to www.mppumps.com and go to our video section of the website and make sure that you check out the setting of the impeller clearance for an HTO pump. Thank you for your time. We appreciate you viewing this video. As always, if you have any other questions, please feel free to call us at MP Pumps.